Major breaking news, folks, regarding a major decision for New Jersey gun owners, and likely, in my opinion, the most significant Second Amendment ruling from the Third Circuit since Bruin. On July 17, 2026, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, en banc, decided two major things. Number one, New Jersey's assault firearm ban is unconstitutional as applied to semi-automatic rifles, not just the Colt AR-15, and also New Jersey's so-called large capacity magazine ban is unconstitutional. So let's get into it. So number one, New Jersey's assault firearm ban is unconstitutional. This is coming from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. Remember that the district court only ruled regarding the Colt AR-15. This was back in July 2024. U.S. District Judge Peter Sheridan ruled only that New Jersey couldn't prohibit the Colt AR-15. And everybody said, what about all the other rifles? Because that was the only firearm the parties had fully developed in the record when they submitted their documents. He specifically declined a rule on every other rifle covered by the statute. Fast forward to today, July 17, 2026, the Third Circuit Court expanded that holding to all semi-automatic rifles covered by New Jersey assault firearm provisions because the record showed no meaningful constitutional distinction between Colt AR-15s and similar AR platform rifles. The court held that rifles are arms protected by the Second Amendment, and New Jersey failed to identify an adequate historical analog under Bruin, Rahimi, and Wolford. Therefore, assault firearm prohibition violates the Second Amendment. Now, as far as New Jersey's magazine ban that they ruled violates the Second Amendment, remember back in 2024, Judge Sheridan upheld the magazine ban. So today, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that that is unconstitutional. I should note that the case was remanded, meaning it's sent back for further proceedings involving additional firearm models and also remaining portions of the assault firearm statute that was not fully developed in the record. So today's decision does not automatically invalidate every subsection of New Jersey's assault firearm law. Keep in mind that I just saw a post by the New Jersey Office of Attorney General. Of course, they are not happy with this decision and they are weighing their options. So here I see three possible next steps to watch out for. Number one, New Jersey files a motion for a stay. So although the Third Circuit ruled against New Jersey today, that ruling does not necessarily become effective immediately. The state can ask the Third Circuit to suspend or stay the effect of the judgment while it seeks review by the U.S. Supreme Court. So why would New Jersey request one? Well, of course, from New Jersey's perspective, allowing today's ruling to immediately take effect could create significant practical problems for the state of New Jersey. So if the ban were lifted, even temporarily, of course, previously prohibited rifles could become lawfully purchased or transferred. Magazines over 10 rounds could easily potentially re-enter the circulation. And then if the Supreme Court later reverses that Third Circuit decision, it would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to put everything back to the way it was. So from New Jersey's perspective, I can see why they would want to ask for a stay while the higher court, in this case the U.S. Supreme Court, reviews the case. So what happens if a stay is granted? If the Third Circuit grants a stay, nothing changes for New Jersey gun owners. Existing assault firearm restrictions remain enforceable. The 10-round magazine limit remains enforceable. The case simply moves to the next stage while the current laws remain in place. So what if the Third Circuit denies a stay? New Jersey could then ask the U.S. Supreme Court for emergency relief, requesting that a justice or the full court issue a stay pending review. That is another reason it's too early for anyone to assume today's decision immediately changes what they can legally possess. Number two, petition for certiorari, or cert. So certiorari means to certify in Latin. That's the formal name for asking the U.S. Supreme Court to review a lower court's decision. Does filing a petition mean that the Supreme Court will hear it? Of course, no. Every year, thousands of petitions are filed. The Supreme Court hears only a small percentage of them. But I think this case is different because the Supreme Court has already agreed to hear consolidated assault weapon ban cases from Illinois and Connecticut that have to do with the core constitutional question whether the Second and 14th Amendments protect the AR-15 platform and similar semi-automatic rifles. That dramatically increases the likelihood that New Jersey's case will be viewed in the context of those other cases rather than separately. Another possibility is that the Supreme Court will simply wait. The court has several procedural options, including they can grant review, they can deny review, they can hold the petition until the other pending assault weapon cases are decided, and they can then later grant or vacate or remand depending on how those cases come out. So exactly which path it takes is really impossible to predict. Another possibility is Supreme Court consideration alongside other pending cases. So this is what makes today's decision especially significant in my opinion. Before today, the federal circuits were divided. For example, you have the 7th Circuit in Illinois that upheld an assault weapon ban. You had the 2nd Circuit for Connecticut upheld an assault weapon ban. July 2024, Judge Sheridan of the District Court in New Jersey rules the ban on the Colt AR-15 was unconstitutional. Of course, he upholds the so-called large capacity magazine in New Jersey. Now today, the 3rd Circuit now has struck down New Jersey's ban. So that kind of disagreement among the federal appellate courts is one of the classic reasons the Supreme Court steps in. The Supreme Court granted review on June 30th in Viramontes versus Cook County, which is Illinois, and Grant versus Higgins, which is Connecticut. The court consolidated those cases into one proceeding to answer the central constitutional question regarding semi-automatic rifle bans. So today's 3rd Circuit opinion adds another major appellate decision to the national debate. Unlike the 2nd and 7th Circuits, the 3rd Circuit concluded that New Jersey's assault firearm ban and magazine restrictions violate the Second Amendment. I should mention, folks, that while the Supreme Court isn't required to take any particular action because of this opinion today, it now has the benefit of reviewing differing analysis from multiple federal courts. So what could happen next? I could see in the next few days to weeks that New Jersey likely files a motion to stay. Or they could file a notice that they intend to seek U.S. Supreme Court review. So by the fall of 2026, if a stay is granted, current New Jersey law remains in effect while further review proceeds. Also, the Supreme Court is expected to hear oral arguments in the consolidated Illinois and Connecticut assault weapon ban cases during its October 2026 term. So I'm thinking likely in 2027 sometime, the Supreme Court is going to issue a nationwide ruling that could either uphold assault weapon bans or strike them down. They could also establish a new constitutional framework that the lower courts, including the 3rd Circuit and New Jersey District Court, must apply. That decision is likely to have implications well beyond New Jersey. Remember, folks, that New Jersey's consolidated case includes the Cheeseman case, has multiple plaintiffs, but the difference in New Jersey's case, consolidated case, is that the other cases from Illinois and Connecticut just include the assault weapon ban. So that means the Supreme Court's eventual opinion could directly answer the rifle question while leaving the magazine capacity issues to be resolved separately. Or, hopefully, it could articulate a broader Second Amendment principle or principles that influence both. At this stage, I think it's too early to know which way the court's going to go, so I'd be careful not to predict that the magazine issue will automatically be resolved by the pending Supreme Court cases. Hopefully it will, but it may not be. So until we know more, nothing changes in the law for New Jersey at this point. I will try to keep everyone up to date as things happen, but folks, I think this is great news for New Jersey gun owners and Second Amendment. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when new content is released. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe.